How did Ellie Williams go from this to this? Whoa, they grow up so fast. Yep, today's the day we dive into the iconic Last of Us games and explore how our main girl here went from an innocent little girl to a one-woman army, checking in with the main crew along the way. So, let's get right into it. The first game starts in Austin, Texas, and opens with our protagonist, world's best single dad, Joel Miller. Joel is tough as nails, but he's also the ultimate embodiment of hard on the outside, soft on the inside. Joel is just getting home after a long day of working construction with his gentler younger brother Tommy, and plops on the couch next to his 13-year-old daughter, the sweet and innocent Sarah. It's Joel's birthday, and kind little Sarah surprises him with a new watch to replace his broken one. Oh, sweetheart alert! Sarah falls asleep watching TV with her dad, and Joel carries her to bed. But soon after, Sarah is awoken by a phone call from a panicked Tommy. He's looking for Joel, but before he can explain why, the line goes dead. We finally get our first taste of gameplay here, and yeah, we're playing as the 13-year-old Sarah. She looks around for her father, but he's nowhere to be seen. She does catch a glimpse of the news though, and it looks like stuff is going down in Austin. The city is being rocked by explosions and gunfire. Then, Joel bursts into the house and tells his daughter that they need to leave now. Before they can move, their neighbor breaks through the glass door, crazed and bloodthirsty. Joel is forced to shoot a man he probably once shared a leaf blower with. That's rough. He then explains the bad news to his daughter. There's zombies in the world now. And it's all thanks to a mutated strain of a fungus known as cordyceps that turns people into flesh-eating monsters called the infected. And, in classic zombie fashion, getting scratched or bitten by an infected means you will become one very soon. Ugh, this is why I don't eat mushrooms, I swear. So, Joel and Sarah leave their house and get picked up by Tommy in his pickup truck. The family tries to leave town, but it is super chaotic, and the roads are blocked by other people that had the same idea. That's when they witness a couple getting torn apart by zombies right in front of them. Tommy tries to drive around the chaos, but they get hit by another car. They got hit so hard that we're now playing as Joel. He carries his injured daughter and tries to escape the town that is now completely overrun by zombies. They lose Tommy at one point, but eventually reach the bridge leading out of town. Joel and Sarah are stopped by an armed soldier. Joel begs the man to let them through, telling him that they aren't infected and that Sarah needs medical help. Then, the soldier gets his orders over the radio, raises his gun, and fires at them both. Joel tries to dive out of the way, and Tommy shows up just in time to shoot the soldier and save Joel's life. But for Sarah, it's too late. She's been hit by the soldier's bullets and tragically bleeds out in her father's arms. The world falling apart around him is nothing compared to this, losing the one thing that kept him going in life. 20 years go by. And let's just say things aren't much better in 2033. Most people have been eaten or zombified, and the few survivors that remain mostly live in small, disconnected cities. Joel is now living in the Boston quarantine zone, where he works as a smuggler with his partner Tess, who is every bit as tough as Joel. Joel wasn't exactly a ray of sunshine before all this, and after going through so much tragedy, he's gone full-on hard-ass mode. Anyway, Joel and Tess just recently had some guns stolen by a lying, wormy arms dealer named Robert, and Tess just found out where Robert is hiding, so they go to pay him a visit.
Old warehouse in Area 5. Can't say for how long, though.
Well, I'm ready now, yeah?
Oh, I can do now.
And look! We're actually playing a video game now! Joel and Tess make their way through a depressing city under military occupation by Fedra, or the Federal Disaster Response Agency. Suddenly, an explosion sends them running for cover inside a building. This is the work of the Fireflies, a militant group that are either brave rebels or evil terrorists, depending on which side you ask. But in post-apocalyptic Boston, random explosions are just another Tuesday. Anyway, Joel and Tess first have to sneak through a building filled with runners. Runners are people who were just recently infected by the cordyceps. Like their name suggests, they're the first stage of the infected. They are much faster than zombies that have been infected for a long time, but they're also much weaker. After solving a couple of challenging puzzles...
Where's the ladder?
It's gotta be around here somewhere. Got it!
Joel and Tess reach Robert's hideout. They shoot and stab their way through his goons until they finally reach Robert. Tess interrogates the man, while Joel brutally breaks his fingers. Jeez, what would your daughter think? Robert caves and tells them that he already sold their guns to the Fireflies. Tess is pissed, so she caps Robert. Gosh! Tess then says that they should go look for the Fireflies, but the Fireflies have already found them. In walks Marlene, the no-nonsense head of the Fireflies. She tells Joel and Tess that they can have their guns back, plus double what they're worth, if they just do one little favor for her.
I need something smuggled out of the city. You do that, I'll give you your guns back, and then some.
The Fireflies need something smuggled out of the city, and smuggling is what these two do best. They agree to the deal, but when they get back to the Fireflies' safe house, they learn it wasn't a what that they were smuggling, but a who. This is 14-year-old Ellie Williams, a wise-ass teen who's as reluctant to go with these two strangers as they are to smuggle out a little girl. But Marlene insists that this is absolutely necessary. Plus, she trusts Joel a ton because she used to work with Tommy, who always vouched for Joel. And so, our strange little road trip begins. The plan is to bring Ellie to the Boston Capitol building, where other Fireflies will be waiting to meet them. First, they'll have to get out of Boston. Joel has no interest in learning more about Ellie or why she's so important to the Fireflies. To him, she's just cargo. Tess thinks that Ellie must be some politician's daughter or something, but she doesn't really care that much either. With that, they head out. The three of them just barely make it out of the quarantine zone when they are ambushed by two soldiers on patrol. One of the soldiers uses a scanner to check whether these escapees have had their brains infected with cordyceps. Joel and Tess are both clean, but when it's Ellie's turn, she uses her switchblade to stab the soldier in the leg. Tess and Joel manage to kill both of the soldiers, but when Tess picks up the scanner off the ground, she sees that Ellie tested positive for the cordyceps brain fungus.
Jesus Christ. Marlene set us up? Why the hell are we smuggling an infected girl?
Uh-oh. Tess is pretty much ready to waste this infected girl right here. But Ellie explains that she was bitten by a zombie 3 weeks ago and still hasn't turned. Usually, people turn within just hours of being infected, so this is completely unheard of. This means Ellie might be the first person in history who is actually immune to this infection. Before they can process this information though, they see an armored car heading towards them and flee into the ruins of Boston. As they're making their way through a collapsed building, Tess is starting to get hopeful. If they can deliver Ellie to the Fireflies, their scientists could study her and create a cure to actually end this nightmare for good. But Joel has been through too much to get his hopes up. Also, we are introduced to our first mutated form of the infected, clickers. And boy howdy are they creepy. Clickers are blind and can only use hearing to locate their prey, but that doesn't make them any less dangerous. When you hear them clicking in this game, run, but quietly. Eventually, the three of them reach the Capitol building, but once they start looking around inside, all they find are a bunch of dead Fireflies. It turns out the military got here first and did what the military does best: kill people. Why they can't all work together to protect a little girl who could end all of this nonsense, I'll never understand. But anyway, Joel says that they should just give up and go back to the quarantine zone. But Tess insists that they need to complete the mission. And that's when Tess drops a bomb.
She's infected. Joel.
She was bitten by an infected a few hours ago. She was hoping that by delivering Ellie, she could do one last good deed and die with some hope for the future. Tess then begs Joel to take Ellie and find his brother Tommy, who might know how to contact the Fireflies. Joel is reluctant, but agrees that he at least owes it to Tess to see this mission through. The military shows up again, and Tess sacrifices herself to buy Joel and Ellie enough time to escape. Man, we're only through the first chapter, and already Joel has lost the one person most important to him twice! Give my man a break! Next, Joel and Ellie reach the town of Lincoln, Massachusetts. Ellie has never left the quarantine zone in her life, so all of this is brand new to her. Joel says they're going to pay a visit to his friend Bill, who just might be able to get them a car. And they're gonna need one, because Tommy is all the way out in Jackson, Wyoming. Credit to him there though, because hiding out in the least populated state is probably a really good idea in a zombie apocalypse. Anyway, Joel's friend Bill is a true survivalist, and the entire town is filled with traps that he set to keep both infected and humans away from his safe house. And it's not long before Joel gets himself caught in one of these traps. Ellie frantically tries to free Joel while he shoots at infected running towards them. Right as Joel is about to be bitten, Bill shows up and saves the day with his trusty machete. Bill is pretty pissed at these two for setting off so many of his traps, but he does owe Joel some favors, so he agrees to help them get a car. First, they'll need to retrieve some weapons from Bill's stash. Then, they'll need to raid a school for some car parts. Wise-ass Ellie makes a lot of jokes about Bill's weight, which is fair. How is bro eating so good in the apocalypse?
Oh, go ahead, take my car. Take all my food too while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Anyway, after fighting through a couple of infected, they reach Bill's weapon stash. Ellie wants to carry a gun, but Joel refuses. He might regret that soon, because once they reach the school, they run into another mutated infected called a bloater. That's a big boy! Bloaters are terrifying, tanky infecteds that are weak to fire and shotguns. To be entirely fair, most things are weak to shotguns. After taking down the big fella, the group finds the car parts they need and escape to a nearby house that has a truck in its garage. Inside the house, they find the body of Bill's partner, Frank. Frank has been bitten and unalived before he could turn. If you search the house, you can find a note from Frank saying that dying beats spending even one more day with Bill. If you want to be a real jerk, you can even give this note right to Bill.
That's how you feel. Too, Frank.
Bill acts tough, but it's clear that Frank meant a lot to him. Even a lone wolf survivalist needs someone to live for. Bill tells Joel that they're even now, and with their new car, Ellie and Joel start driving west. Later in the car, Ellie reveals that she stole a cassette tape and a comic book from Bill's safe house. She also stole a magazine full of sexy men, which she tosses right out the window. Dude! What the hell? Do you know how hard those are to come by in the apocalypse? Eventually, the two reach Pittsburgh. Joel decides it'll be the fastest to drive straight through, but that great idea doesn't last very long. They soon see a wounded man on the side of the road begging for help. Ellie wants to stop and pick him up, but Joel warns her that it's most likely just an act. And he's absolutely right, because as soon as they drive past the man, they are ambushed by a band of scavengers known as hunters. The hunters roll an RV into their car, crashing it into a hardware store. Joel fights off the hunters and escapes with Ellie to an abandoned military checkpoint. It seems that Pittsburgh used to be a Fedra-controlled quarantine zone just like Boston, until the citizens rose up against Fedra. It doesn't look like they did a much better job of running things though. While making their way through a hotel full of hunters, Joel is attacked and nearly drowned in a puddle of water. Ellie saves his life by picking up Joel's gun and taking a life for the first time. Joel gets angry that she did something so dangerous. How about a thank you for saving your dang life?
How about, hey, Ellie, I know it wasn't easy, but it was either him or me. Thanks for saving my ass.
He must be at least a little grateful though, because Joel then shows Ellie how to use a rifle and lets her snipe hunters. He even gives her her own pistol. Wow, she's really growing up fast, huh? Next, while sneaking through an apartment building, Joel gets into a fight with a man. Joel is beating the crap out of the guy when Ellie notices that he has a little boy with him. This is Henry and his little brother Sam, two fellow survivors who are also trying to avoid the hunters. We all know how hard it is to get Joel's trust, but these two pairs agree to work together for the time being to get out of the city. Henry leads them all the way to the office they've been hiding in, and we learn that these two boys are looking for the Fireflies as well. How convenient! That night, Henry and Joel attack a guard post leading out of town while the kids hang back. They clear out the hunters, but reinforcements show up before they can all escape across the bridge out of town. Henry and Sam ditch the others to escape on their own, and with no other options, Joel and Ellie are forced to jump into the raging river below, which is especially bold considering that Ellie can't swim. Whoops! Joel wakes up on the riverbank with Ellie, having been pulled out of the water by Henry and Sam. Joel is less than happy about being left for dead, but they kinda just made up for it. Plus, Joel almost definitely would have done the same thing. The group then makes their way through the sewers, headed towards a radio station where Henry's friends said they'd meet up. They find evidence that a whole group of survivors were living in these sewers until they were overrun by the infected. There's even a note indicating that at one point an adult killed all the kids just to prevent them from possibly becoming fast little zombies. Damn! I guess living in the sewers isn't as fun as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made it look. These four then work together to fight through the hordes of infected and eventually make it out of the sewers into a suburb. While looking around, Joel and Henry bond a little while reminiscing about life before the cordyceps infection. But it's out of the frying pan into a whole bunch of annoying hunters. The group is fired at by a sniper, and Joel charges forward to take him out. Once he reaches and stabs the sniper, Joel takes over the rifle to provide cover to the other three. He sees an armored car heading towards Ellie and is powerless to do anything, until a guy stupidly pokes his head out the window to throw a Molotov. Joel pops him, and the Molotov falls inside the car, burning everyone alive. You know, normal suburban stuff. Anyway, after taking out all of the hunters, the four of them finally reach the radio tower. Sadly, Henry's friends are nowhere to be seen, and he is forced to accept that they were almost certainly all killed. Damn! That night, Ellie and Sam have a deep conversation. Sam reveals that his biggest fear is being infected, while Ellie is most afraid of being left all alone. She then gives Sam a robot toy that she picked up earlier and says goodnight. Aww. Once alone, Sam lifts up his pant leg to reveal a zombie bite. When Ellie goes to wake up Sam in the morning, he's an infected, and he attacks her. Joel immediately goes for his gun, but Henry threatens to shoot Joel if he hurts his little brother. Then, Henry realizes what he's doing and shoots his own brother instead. Joel and Ellie try to calm him down, but Henry is horrified by what he's done and turns the gun around on himself right there and pulls the trigger.
It's all your fault! Henry! Henry, no!
Oh my god.
Man, these two brothers deserved so much better than this. Months go by as Joel and Ellie continue making their way to Wyoming. Along the way, Joel explains how he and Tommy came to be on bad terms. Tommy joined up with the Fireflies against Joel's wishes, and the two had a bad falling out. But who has time to hold a grudge at the end of the world? Later, Joel and Ellie reach a hydroelectric dam with a massive gate, and are greeted by fellow survivors. Among them is Tommy, who welcomes his brother with a big hug. He introduces Joel to his wife Maria, and the two brothers catch up. Tommy explains that they've got a decent-sized settlement running in Jackson, and they just came to this dam to get electricity running for the town. He also tells Joel that he went back to Texas a few years ago and found some pictures of Joel with his daughter, but Joel refuses to take them. Maybe he'll be ready in another 20 years or so. Once they're alone, Joel tells Tommy about Ellie's immunity and asks him to take her to the Fireflies for him. Tommy refuses since the settlement needs him too much. This pisses Joel off, and he calls Tommy ungrateful for all the things Joel has done to keep the two of them alive. But Tommy responds that he only has nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me! It wasn't worth it.
If they ever make a prequel game to show what these two had to do to survive in a world like this, I'm not so sure I'd want to see it. Just then, the plant is attacked by bandits, and the brothers must team up to fight them off. After successfully fending them off, Tommy agrees to take Ellie to the Fireflies. But Ellie doesn't want Joel to leave her, so she steals a horse and just rides away. Standard teenage behavior. Joel and Tommy track her down to an abandoned ranch house, and Joel confronts Ellie. She reveals that she overheard Joel and Tommy talking about Sarah, and bringing her up just pisses Joel off even more. That's when some more bandits show up, and once again, these two brothers and a child manage to fend off waves of bloodthirsty scavengers. Afterwards, Joel has a change of heart and agrees to take Ellie the rest of the way on his own. Tommy tells them the Fireflies research lab is at the University of Eastern Colorado and says goodbye to his brother once more. It doesn't take too long for these two to reach the university, thanks to a horse they've borrowed from Tommy that Ellie names Callus. While looking around for the science building, Joel tells Ellie all about the old world, and how he dreamed of being a singer when he was a kid. Huh, not what I would have pictured for him. Once they find the research lab, they find nothing but bad news inside. It seems that the Fireflies were using monkeys as test subjects to study cordyceps. But the monkeys got out and infected some of the scientists, causing the rest to flee. Great! Just what this world needed. Angry, infected monkeys! Joel then finds a recording saying that the surviving researchers went to Salt Lake City, so this country road trip gets to continue. Hold that thought though, because the pair are immediately ambushed by a group of looters. They manage to kill their attackers, but Joel falls off a ledge onto a piece of rebar and is impaled through the stomach. Panicked, Ellie helps him back onto their horse, but before long, Joel passes out from blood loss and falls off callus. Next thing we know, it's wintertime, and we're back to playing as a teenage girl. Ellie is out hunting for food with a bow and arrow when she is approached by two men named David and James. They claim to come from a nearby settlement and offer to trade with Ellie for a deer she just killed. She asks if they have any medicine, and David sends James to go grab some antibiotics from the camp. Ellie has learned not to trust strangers so easily, but these guys seem chill enough, and she is the one holding the gun. While they're waiting for James to come back, Ellie and David are attacked by infected. After fighting their way through them, David reveals to Ellie that a few weeks ago, some of his men were killed by a man traveling with a little girl. David knows full well that Ellie is that little girl and that she needs the medicine for Joel. But he actually gives her the antibiotics and lets her go. Maybe he really is a good guy. Ellie brings the medicine back to the house where she's been hiding out and gives it to Joel. Speaking of Joel, he's looking rough. Ellie stitched up his wounds the best she could, but he's on the brink of death and can't even speak. Ellie falls asleep next to Joel and wakes up hearing bandits outside. It looks like David followed her all the way back here, so maybe he's not such a good guy after all. Ellie tries to ride away on Callus to draw attention away from Joel, but the bandits hit and kill Callus. No! He was the last of horse! Ellie then fights through a bunch of bandits to make her way into an abandoned resort. She tries to get away, but David sneaks up behind her and chokes her unconscious. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a cage in some kind of human slaughterhouse, where David is chopping up a body to eat. Okay, definitely not a good guy. Fortunately for Ellie, he's such an enormous creep that he's attracted to her and wants to keep her around instead of turning her into an Ellie sandwich. Good news, I guess? David tries to caress Ellie through the bars of the cage, so she breaks his fingers. So much for wanting to keep her around! Now it's Joel's turn to wake up, and he overhears from the bandits outside that Ellie has been taken. Yes, he was just on the brink of death, but with his new daughter missing, nothing can stand in his way. Tortures two of them for information on where Ellie was taken, and then kills them for good measure.
It's right here, right here. I'll pop your goddamn knee off. The girl.
She's alive.
Damn, he is in Papa Bear mode. Back at the slaughterhouse, Ellie is about to get sliced up by James and David. She manages to throw them off by yelling out that she's infected and showing her zombie bite. This provides a distraction, and she uses it to grab David's knife, kill James, and run outside. If you're expecting Joel to ride up and save the day, you'll have to wait just a bit longer. Ellie is tracked by David to an empty restaurant, and the two engage in a brutal fight while the restaurant begins to burn down around them. David pins Ellie to the ground, but Ellie reaches for his machete and brings it down on David over and over. When Joel finally shows up, Ellie is covered in blood in a burning building, relentlessly hacking David apart.
Ellie! Stop! Stop!
Touch me!
It's okay, it's me! It's me! It's me!
Joel takes Ellie in his arms and tries to calm her down, while she just breaks down and cries. Jesus, that was intense. Now it's springtime, and our duo has finally reached Salt Lake City. The two have a very strong bond by now, but the traumatic events so far have deeply affected Ellie and made her far quieter. Kinda like what happened to Joel. While traveling through the city, they come across a herd of loose giraffes that must have escaped from a zoo. While Ellie looks at the animals in amazement, Joel tells her that if she wants, they can turn around and go start a life in Tommy's settlement. He really sees her as his daughter now. But Ellie is determined to see this through and make sure everything they've gone through so far wasn't for nothing. Then, she gives Joel a picture of him and Sarah, saying she stole it from Tommy's wife. Joel takes it and thanks her. That is just beautiful. I'm about to cry! Later, they're going through a flooded area when the ground gives way, and the pair are sent into a violent current. Joel drags Ellie to the surface and starts performing CPR when an armed soldier shows up. The soldier orders Joel to freeze, but he ignores this instruction and keeps doing CPR. The soldier then knocks Joel unconscious. Joel wakes up in a hospital bed next to Marlene, who welcomes him to the Firefly's new research base. Marlene assures Joel that Ellie is completely fine as well. They made it! I'm sure it'll be nothing but smooth sailing from here. Joel then asks to see Ellie, but Marlene says she is being prepped for surgery as they speak. See, the Fireflies have determined that in order to create a cure, they'll have to dissect Ellie's brain, which is the kind of thing that generally kills you. Joel is furious and accuses Marlene of betraying his little girl who trusted her. But Marlene says that anything is worth doing for a potential cure. I know that we're all Team Ellie here, but is she wrong?
Don't waste this gift, Joel.
Marlene expected that Joel might not be too happy about new daughter being used as a lab rat. So, she orders a guard named Ethan to march Joel out of the hospital and shoot him if he tries anything funny. Oh, Marlene. There's nothing funny about what Joel is trying to do here. Joel quickly disarms and interrogates Ethan, learning that the surgery is being performed on the building's top floor before killing him. Joel then methodically fights his way through the building, taking out every Firefly in his way. He's not about to let one more person be taken away from him, no matter how many lives her death could save. Which, again, I'm Team Joel here, but that is pretty selfish if you think about it. Soon, Joel reaches the operating room. The doctors plead with Joel and tell him he is dooming humanity by doing this. And as the player, you are forced to at least kill the head surgeon, Jerry. The others, it's up to you. Joel carries an unconscious Ellie out of the building, evading all the guards, until he is confronted by Marlene in the parking garage. She tells Joel that Ellie would want to give her life in exchange for a cure, and starts to put her gun down. So Joel shoots her in the gut, loads Ellie into a car, and comes back to finish Marlene off. Marlene begs for her life, but Joel just responds that if he lets Marlene go, she'll be coming after Ellie.
Let me go! Please.
You just come after her.
Ellie then wakes up in the backseat of a car that Joel is driving away from the facility. She has no memory since falling into the water and asks what happened. Joel lies and tells her that when they reached the facility, they learned that the Fireflies already had dozens of other people with immunity there, but they weren't able to create a cure. Right. And they just had to leave super quick before Ellie even woke up. Sure. Back in control of Ellie, we're making our way back to Tommy's settlement in Jackson. As they're walking, Ellie tells Joel that when she first got bitten, she was with her best friend who was also infected. She has major survival's guilt over everyone they've lost along the way, and asks Joel if he's telling the truth about what happened with the Fireflies. And Joel swears to her that he told the truth. What an all-time ending. But it's far from the end of the story. 8 months after the release of The Last of Us, Naughty Dog released the standalone DLC titled Left Behind, set 3 weeks before Joel and Ellie first met. It covers the story of how Ellie was originally bitten and lost her closest friend. Ellie's friend Riley brought her to an abandoned shopping mall for a carefree night of fun. Riley was a Firefly and wanted to spend time with Ellie before she was assigned to a different city since the two girls had feelings for each other. But the night turned tragic when the mall was invaded by runners, and while they did manage to escape, both girls were bitten in the process. They accepted their fate and waited to turn together, but for Ellie, that fate never came. So with that, we've reached the official end of Part 1. A year after its release, Naughty Dog put out a remastered version for the PlayStation 4. 6 years after that, in June of 2020, they released The Last of Us Part 2 for the PS4. Part 2 picks up right where we left off, just with much better graphics. Right outside Jackson, Joel is cleaning a guitar while telling Tommy everything that went down at the Firefly lab. Tommy is pretty shocked to hear his brother destroyed humanity's one chance at a cure, but he's pretty understanding about it. As they ride back to the settlement, Tommy even tells Joel that he probably would have done the same thing in his shoes and promises to keep this secret. That's a real brother right there.
Can't say I'd have done different. I'll take it to the grave if I have to.
Later that night, Joel visits Ellie at her own house. That's the one good thing about most people dying in an apocalypse. There's enough space for everyone to have their own house. They've got a pretty swanky setup here, with electricity, music, and relative safety. Joel gives Ellie the guitar he just fixed up as a gift, and plays her a very emotional Pearl Jam song.
Everything I found here, and I found by myself.
Nothing has really even happened in this game yet, and I'm already emotional. 4 years go by in the blink of an eye. Ellie, now 18, is woken up for a morning patrol by the easygoing Jesse. Ellie immediately and awkwardly reveals that last night she kissed Jesse's ex-girlfriend, the upbeat Dina. But Jesse isn't even mad in the slightest about that, so he's okay in my book. Apparently, that's not all that happened last night. We're now in control of Ellie again, and while exploring the town, we learned that last night she had a confrontation with a guy named Seth who was being homophobic. Really? Most of the world has been eaten by fungus, and you're still mad about two girls kissing. Anyway, Joel stepped in to defend Ellie and got into a small fight with Seth, but it seems like everyone has cooled off by now. Ellie and Jesse reach a bar in town, where Seth apologizes for his behavior last night. Then, Tommy's wife Maria asks Jesse to go meet up with Joel and Tommy, who are scouting out a horde of infected outside of town. Next, Ellie sees Dina having a snowball fight with some local kids, and they have a conversation about their kiss. They just play it off like nothing, but it was definitely more than just a drunken kiss. Ellie then mounts her horse, Shimmer, and heads out on patrol with Dina. It's really nice to see Ellie just getting to be a normal teenager, and I'm dreading whatever is about to happen to ruin these peaceful times. And, speak of the devil, the game now shifts to the perspective of Abby Anderson. Abby is a tough customer who has been broken down by the events of the last couple years. A lot like Joel was right after the outbreak. Abby and her friends are survivors from Seattle, currently squatting in an abandoned lodge outside Jackson. Abby wakes up, and her more carefree friend Owen brings her to a hillside where they can see the Jackson settlement. They seem to have some kind of business with someone inside the settlement, and it's not the friendly sort of business, more the bloody revenge type. Owen tells Abby that his girlfriend Mel, a trained medic, is pregnant, and that he's starting to have doubts about this whole mission that they're on. Angered, Abby runs off and is soon attacked by infected. But this girl is tough and takes out the zombies with some bare-knuckle brawling. She eventually comes across some horse tracks and decides to follow them. Meanwhile, Ellie and Dina are on patrol, gabbing it up about their previous relationships. They're making small talk and clearing out infected from nearby outposts, when suddenly, a massive blizzard hits. The two girls are forced to hole up in a library, where they find and smoke some marijuana. These zombies may have taken our civilization, but they can never take our kush! And before long, these two stoners start making out. Now, we're back to Abby, who isn't having quite as enjoyable of an afternoon. While following the horse tracks, she runs into a horde of runners who start to chase her. Abby jumps over a fence to get away, but the infected all slam into the fence and bring it down on top of her. She's frantically crawling away and is about to be bit when, bam! Joel saves the day. He and Tommy help Abby up and bring her inside an outpost. The outpost is crawling with infected, so the three are forced to fight their way through. At one point, Tommy introduces himself and Joel, and Abby is shocked when she hears Joel's name. More on that in a bit. The three escape and make their way to the lodge, where Abby is staying with her friends to wait out the blizzard. I have a bad feeling about this. Back in their love nest, Ellie and Dina are sharing stories about their scars. Ellie shows off her zombie bite and confides in Dina about her immunity, but Dina doesn't even believe her. Right then, Jesse bursts into the basement and tells them both to come outside right now. Or right after they put some clothes on. He tells them that Tommy and Joel haven't come back from patrol and they need to start searching for them. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Joel and Tommy have reached Abby's lodge and start introducing themselves to everyone. Once again, when Joel shares his name, everyone gets pretty uncomfortable. Joel asks if they've heard of him before, and Abby responds with a shotgun blast to his knee. What the heck?
Look like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
Tommy cries out, but is restrained by Abby's friends. Abby asks Joel to guess who she is, and why she wants him dead so much. But Joel's not in the mood for guessing games. Abby isn't either. She then picks up a golf club from the corner of the room and starts beating Joel savagely. Good God, lady, what is your problem? While this is going on, Ellie is frantically looking for Joel and Tommy and finds tracks leading to the lodge. Ellie enters to find Joel beaten to death, but is immediately pinned to the ground by Abby's group before Ellie can even react. Ellie begs for Abby to stop, but this whole group clearly has a very personal vendetta with Joel. And poor Ellie is forced to watch as her father figure is brutally murdered right in front of her.
Please don't shoot. Joel, please get up. No!
Abby's group argues about it, but ultimately decides to let Ellie and Tommy go? Why would they do that? I have a theory. Bad writing. Anyway, Abby and her friends leave, and soon Jesse and Dina arrive to find the aftermath of this horrible tragedy. Damn! Losing Joel this soon in the second game was a twist that no one saw coming, and a huge reason why this game was so divisive. But there's no arguing that Abby just became one of the most hated villains in all of gaming. That night, after making their way back to Jackson, Ellie grieves alone in her house. Tommy stops by and tries to comfort her, but the only thing on Ellie's mind is revenge. Tommy has a hunch that Joel's killers were from the Washington Liberation Front, or WLF, based in Seattle. Ellie wants to start marching there ASAP, but Tommy is hesitant to leave the town. Ellie points out that if she or Tommy had been killed, Joel would have already been out the door and on the warpath. She's not wrong there. We know exactly what lengths Joel is willing to go to. So Tommy agrees to go to Seattle with Ellie to kill Abby. The next morning, Ellie is saying her goodbyes at Joel's new grave when Dina stops by. Dina insists on joining this revenge quest, and Ellie agrees to bring her along. They then stop by Joel's house to collect some of his belongings, where they run into Maria. Maria tells them that Tommy has already left town by himself, as he didn't want to risk putting Ellie in any danger. Tommy even left a note for Maria, telling her to lock up Ellie so she couldn't leave. But Maria knows there's no stopping Ellie from this. Maria tells Ellie and Dina to take Shimmer and some ammo, and make sure Tommy gets back in one piece. Time for another road trip!
Just, do me a favor and bring my dumbass husband home in one piece, please.
Of course.
Last time, it took an entire game to travel halfway across the country. But in this one, we've already made it to Seattle. Dina and Ellie ride through the outskirts of town discussing possible reasons for why Abby killed Joel. If you'll remember, Joel kinda sorta killed a lot of people during the last game, so there's no shortage of angry relatives that could want him dead. Once they reach the gates of the Seattle quarantine zone, they find it littered with the bodies of dead Fedra soldiers. It looks like the people in Seattle also had enough of the government bossing them around, and the WLF was formed to overthrow them. The pair travels deeper into the city, sneaking through buildings and taking out infected when needed. Eventually, they come across a hotel lobby filled with the bodies of dead WLF soldiers. They find one of the people from Abby's group dead and bound to a chair, and there's no question about it, this was Tommy's work.
Tommy did this. It was definitely him.
Seems like all those years with Joel taught him how to be an absolute monster when he needs to. Later, Ellie and Dina are riding Shimmer through the city when, out of nowhere, they hit an explosive trap. Both women are sent flying, and Ellie lands just in time to watch Shimmer get shot dead by a WLF soldier before getting knocked out herself. R.I.P. Shimmer. Damn. Ellie wakes up in a school, all tied up. She's being interrogated by Jordan, another person who was there at Joel's murder. He's trying to get Ellie to reveal how many people she came to Seattle with, when another WLF soldier enters. He's got instructions from the WLF's leader, Isaac, to execute all trespassers immediately. But Jordan says they need to keep Ellie alive for information. While they're arguing, Dina shoots the soldier through a skylight and falls into the building. Jordan starts choking Dina, but Ellie is able to grab a shard of glass to free herself, and she stabs Jordan. Searching Jordan's body, they find a photo of another one of Abby's accomplices named Leah. They also learn that she is at a local TV station, so they've got their next stop. Ellie and Dina keep making their way through Seattle while taking out groups of WLF soldiers. Ellie makes it clear that Abby is the only person she really needs to kill, and the others will be decided on a case-by-case basis. If Leah gives up Abby's location when they find her, she can live. On their way to the TV station, they find the body of Tommy's horse, along with plenty of dead WLF soldiers, and traps that have been set off. And it seems like Tommy has this hand led, because they soon find Leah's dead body riddled with arrows.
Guess the universe really wanted her dead, huh?
He's already one step ahead. Just then, a whole squad of WLF soldiers arrive, and the girls are forced to flee into the tunnels of a subway station. While sneaking through these tunnels, we get to face off with our first new zombie mutation of this game, the Shambler. It's basically a bloater that has mutated even more to the point where it can now shoot acid. Great. So glad we don't have a cure for this whole thing. Anyway, Dina puts on a mask to make it through an area infested with fungus spores, but Ellie insists that she doesn't need one because she really is immune. Dina has no choice but to finally believe her and then promptly collapses onto the floor. Ellie brings Dina out of the tunnels and into an abandoned theater. Here, Dina reveals that she is pregnant.
What? Don't worry, it's not yours.
Does nobody know how to use protection in the apocalypse? Ellie is pretty upset that Dina didn't say anything earlier and leaves Dina to rest while she searches the theater. Ellie then finds a guitar and starts playing the song that Joel taught her. We then get an emotional flashback to Ellie's 16th birthday, when Joel gave her an unforgettable present. Ellie and Joel were camping in rural Wyoming when he surprised her by bringing her to the Wyoming Museum of Science and History. The two spent the day exploring the ruins of exhibits that had been long forgotten.
After you.
It's hard to say whether or not Joel was a good man, but there's no questioning he was an amazing father. The next day, Ellie wakes up in the theater and finds a radio where they can listen in on WLF broadcasts. They hear reports of a trespasser in Zone 14 and assume it must be Tommy. So Ellie heads out on her own and fights her way through soldiers to reach Zone 14. There, she learns the trespasser is actually Jesse. He followed her and Dina all the way to Seattle. Ellie decides not to tell Jesse that Dina is probably pregnant with his baby. Good call! They then steal a WLF truck and make a narrow escape back to the theater, where Ellie decides to have another flashback. I'm not always a fan of constant flashbacks in stories, but as long as we're getting more Joel screen time, I'm not complaining. In this one, 2 years earlier, Ellie and Joel are exploring a music store to find some guitar strings. They clear the store of infected and find the bodies of a couple that had recently just left Jackson. Ellie reveals to Joel that she doesn't fully trust him about what happened in Salt Lake City.
There was no cure.
But Joel keeps insisting that he told her the truth about a cure not being possible. Can you blame him? I certainly wouldn't want to tell someone that I may have doomed humanity just to save them, unless they were really selfish, I guess. Back in 2038, Ellie learns over the radio that Nora, another one of Abby's squad members, is located at a nearby hospital. Not wanting to put the expecting parents at risk, she makes her way there alone. Along the way, Ellie learns that the WLF aren't the only baddies in town she'll need to watch out for. The WLF are currently in a bit of a turf war with the religious cult called the Seraphites. They believe that the cordyceps infection was a divine punishment from God, and their soldiers, called Scars, follow a woman known as the Prophet. Just what Ellie needed. A bunch of religious whack jobs. Ellie watches some Seraphites ritually execute WLF soldiers, then takes them out all on her own, because she's an absolute one-woman army. She then reaches the hospital and sneaks in, at one point killing a WLF soldier who was just trying to chill and play Hotline Miami on their PS Vita. Unforgivable. You leave gamers out of this, Ellie. After using tall grass and rocks to completely obliterate a couple more WLF soldiers, Ellie finds Nora. Ellie overhears that Abby is actually wanted by the WLF and just recently escaped from a cell in this hospital. Ellie then holds Nora at gunpoint and asks where Abby went, but Nora just says that Joel got what he deserved and tries to run away. Ellie chases Nora through the hospital, and just as she catches up to her target, they run into 3 WLF soldiers. Ellie grabs Nora and dives through a hole in the floor to an area filled with cordyceps spores. Great! When Nora sees that Ellie is unaffected by the spores, she immediately realizes that Ellie is the girl that the Fireflies were after all those years ago.
Dead anyway, why would I tell you anything?
Because I can make it quick. Or I can make it so much worse.
Exposition time! See, Abby's group all used to be Fireflies themselves, but after hearing what happened in Salt Lake City, the entire group disbanded. Nora tries to explain how, from her perspective, Joel is a mass murderer who threw away the best chance at saving the world. But Ellie is unmoved by this information and brutally tortures Nora to pry Abby's location from her. She eventually learns that Abby is hiding out at the Seattle Aquarium. If you thought learning the truth about what Joel did might make Ellie rethink this revenge quest, You'd be dead wrong, because it turns out she already knew. In one last flashback to 2 years ago, we see that Ellie traveled by herself back to the Firefly lab in Salt Lake City. She found notes and a voice recording revealing that Ellie could have been used to create a cure, but Joel murdered the only doctors capable of actually creating it. She replays the recording over and over until Joel arrives at the lab, having chased after her. Ellie confronts Joel, who finally tells her the truth about what he did to save her life.
Making a vaccine would have killed you.
Ellie is completely devastated and furious with Joel, both for lying to her and for making this enormous decision on her behalf. It says a lot that Ellie knew all of this and is still going to such lengths to get justice for Joel's death, like father, like daughter. Back in Seattle, Ellie returns to the theater, traumatized by what she just had to do to Nora. When she gets there, Jesse tells her that Dina has come down with a fever, and he's figured out that she's pregnant. Jesse wants to head back to Jackson, but Ellie insists that they need to find Tommy and Abby first, and Jesse agrees to help Ellie so that they can get home sooner. Look at that! He's not completely useless for once. As they head towards the aquarium, they reach a point where the city is too flooded to continue on. They also hear that a sniper has been giving the WLF trouble over at the marina, which they figure must be Tommy. Jesse believes that meeting up with Tommy should be the priority, but Ellie is dead set on getting her revenge, so the two split up. Ellie hijacks a WLF boat and keeps heading to the aquarium. She sails through a worsening storm and is soon thrown overboard by massive waves. But unwilling to give up, Ellie swims the rest of the way to the aquarium. That's right, she learned how to swim! So Ellie sneaks into the aquarium and is attacked by a guard dog. She kills the dog with her switchblade, which I guess is self-defense, but damn, R.I.P. doggo. Pretty soon, she overhears Owen and Mel arguing. You remember them? The other couple that just got pregnant in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and a war with a crazy religious cult? Anyway, Ellie trains her gun on them and demands they tell her where Abby is. Mel is about to spill the beans, but Owen tells her not to, since he believes Ellie will kill them both either way. Ellie moves towards Mel, causing Owen to jump forward and start a brawl between the three of them. Ellie shoots Owen in the chest and then stabs Mel in the neck after the two wrestle over a knife. Ellie moves over to a dying Owen and asks him about Abby again, but he cruelly tells Ellie that she just killed a pregnant woman. Ellie unzips Mel's jacket to see her pregnant stomach, and is so distraught by what she's done that she has a panic attack. Suddenly, she's grabbed from behind, but it's just Tommy and Jesse. They comfort Ellie and help her escape back to the theater. After all this, Ellie finally agrees to end this quest and head back to Jackson. I mean, they have killed pretty much all of Abby's friends at this point, so I'd call them even. Of course, in this world, it could never be that easy. As they're packing up to leave, Ellie and Jesse hear fighting coming from the theater lobby where Tommy is. They run towards the sound and burst through the lobby doors, where Jesse is immediately shot and killed by Abby. Ellie is shocked at how quickly this happened, but there's no time to grieve. Abby is holding Tommy hostage, and Ellie is forced to surrender her weapon. Ellie pleads for Abby to let Tommy go, but Abby has already let these two go free once. She isn't about to do it again.
We let you both live, and you wasted it!
Hoo boy, things are getting really intense. Which, of course, means it's time for another flashback. Yeah, not a huge fan of this one. This time, it's from Abby's perspective. We're back in 2034, where Abby is searching for a zebra with her dad? Remember Jerry, that doctor that Joel killed right as he was about to remove Ellie's brain? Well, surprise, surprise, Jerry was Abby's father. Now the whole thing makes sense. Ellie's new dad killed Abby's real dad. So Abby killed Ellie's new dad. It's your classic dad-killing revenge cycle. In the flashback, we see Abby and her dad learn that Ellie has arrived at the research lab. Jerry has a conversation with Marlene, where he tells her that they will have to kill Ellie in order to create the cure. Marlene was actually against that, and she insisted that Jerry find a different way. But Jerry argued that one life was nothing compared to how many people the cure would save.
If this was your daughter, what would you do?
And Abby assured her dad that he was doing the right thing. But of course, we all know what happened next. Abby reached the operating room shortly after Joel left with Ellie and found her father's corpse. It really is hard to see Abby as the bad guy after all of this. In a different game, she could 100% be the protagonist. We then jump back to the scene of Joel's death, again from Abby's perspective. While she was bashing Joel with a golf club, some of Abby's friends wanted to kill Tommy and Ellie, but Owen insisted that if they did that, they would be just as bad as Joel. The group argued until Abby shouted at them to stop and declared that they would be letting the other two go. After this, we jump forward to the day Ellie first arrived in Seattle and get to see how it all played out for Abby. Abby wakes up at a WLF base, and her friend Manny tells her that they've been summoned by the WLF leader Isaac. She heads to the WLF headquarters with Manny, Mel, and a guard dog named Alice. Mel is pretty pissed off at Abby, which Manny says is because she's traumatized over the murder of Joel. Fair enough. They probably should have let her sit out the murder part once they learned she was pregnant. Anyway, while driving a truck to the headquarters, the group is ambushed by a group of Seraphites. They retreat into a hardware store and fend off groups of infected and scars. They're running low on ammo and are about to be overrun when a WLF platoon arrives from HQ and saves them. The group then gets brought to HQ, where Abby learns from Nora that the war with the Seraphites is really not going too well for the WLF. She gets brought into a tent full of WLF corpses, including a soldier who was on patrol with Owen, and now Owen is nowhere to be found. I guess it's safe to say the people in Jackson aren't the only ones with problems. Then, we finally get our first look at the WLF's leader Isaac, who, fun fact, is voiced by Batman's bestie, Commissioner Gordon himself, Jeffrey Wright. He tells Abby and Manny that the WLF won't last longer in their war against the Seraphites, so he's planning a desperate, all-out assault on their island fortress. He asks Abby to lead the first wave. She says she'll only do it if Owen comes along. Isaac says that's a big no-no because the last guy Owen was partnered with came back to the base wounded and used his dying words to tell Isaac that Owen had shot him. Abby doesn't believe that Owen would do such a thing, so she plans to sneak out that night and find him on her own. Next we get, you guessed it, another flashback. This time, it's just Abby and Owen having fun at the Seattle Aquarium a few years prior. It looks like Owen was interested in a more serious relationship with Abby, but the trauma of losing her father made her unable to commit.
I know all the leads have dried up, but Joel's still out there, you know?
I know.
These flashbacks with Abby don't do much for the plot, but they go a long way in humanizing someone who took away one of our favorite characters. Back to the other flashback now. That night in Seattle, Abby sneaks through Seraphite territory to try and find Owen. She fights through multiple patrols of scars, but is ultimately cornered and knocked out cold. And now, we get another flashback of Abby and Owen. Don't get me wrong, I think these games are absolute milestones for narratives in gaming, but if they do one more flashback after this, I might lose it. This one shows us the winter of last year, when Abby convinced Owen and her friends to go to Jackson with her. Owen doesn't seem to be as gung-ho about revenge as Abby is, but he supports her and is willing to see this through. Everyone deserves a friend like Owen. Now that that's over, we're back with Abby, who has been captured by Seraphites. The scars put Abby in a noose, and her only lifeline is a rusty old bucket for her to stand on. These weirdos start performing some kind of ritual that will clean Abby of her sin, aka cut her stomach open. Just then, some scars appear with a young woman named Yara. Yara was born into the Seraphite cult, but recently tried to escape. The leader of the scars asks Yara where her brother is, and Yara responds by spitting in her face. The scar responds by breaking Yara's arm with a hammer. Suddenly, arrows start flying in from the trees, taking out Scars. The distraction gives Abby an opportunity to wrap her legs around a Scar's neck and choke them out with just her thighs. All things considered, not the worst way to go out. The person who just saved Abby's butt is Yara's younger brother, Lev. Lev hesitates to cut Abby down from the rope, since the WLF and the Seraphites are sworn enemies. But they need all the friends they can get right now, so Yara and Lev free Abby, and the three make their escape together. They reach the forest, but then have to fight off a horde of the infected. Eventually, the trio reaches safety in a trailer park. Abby then tells the siblings to stay put in a trailer while she continues her mission to find Owen. Abby keeps traveling through the dangerous city until she reaches her and Owen's special place, the aquarium. There, she finds Owen hiding inside a boat and drinking some booze. He admits that he did indeed kill his fellow WLF soldier and then explains why. They came across an elderly Seraphite that Owen's patrol partner wanted to kill, but Owen insisted that the old guy wasn't a threat. The other soldier wouldn't listen, so Owen decided to shoot him and flee from the WLF. Abby tries to convince Owen that he can come back to the base and make things right.
I can fix this. I'll talk to Isaac.
I am tired, Abby. I don't want to fight over land that I don't about anymore.
At this point, he's pretty much completely disillusioned from the WLF and realizes that they are really no different from Fedra. He heard a rumor that the Fireflies are reforming in Santa Barbara and wants to go join them again. Owen asks Abby to come with him and reminds her that she owes him for helping her kill Joel. The two argue until eventually they just start making out and sleeping together inside this boat. Wow! What would your soon-to-be murdered pregnant girlfriend think? That night, Abby has a nightmare about Yara and Lev being found and murdered by the Seraphites. This is the game's subtle way of letting us know that she feels guilty about abandoning them in a trailer park. She heads back there alone and finds that Yara is not doing well thanks to her broken arm. She tells the siblings that she can help them and brings them back to the aquarium. When they get back, they find that Mel has arrived with the dog Alice. Mel has medical training, so she looks at Yara's injury and decides that it'll have to be amputated. Seems excessive for a broken arm, but okay. In order to do that safely, they'll need supplies from the local hospital, so Abby and Lev head there to steal some. Boy, does this game like sending you on errands! You know the drill by now. They head to the hospital, fight their way through infected and scars along the way, and argue about whose side is more responsible for this war. Some of the Seraphites they encounter refer to Lev as Lily, but when Abby asks about it, he says he doesn't want to talk about it. Eventually, the pair reach the top floor of a high-rise building, because apparently that's the quickest way to get to the hospital. They cross a dangerous bridge to a neighboring building, but apparently Big Tough Abby has a fear of heights. She freaks out and causes both her and Lev to fall into a swimming pool below. Fortunately, they both know how to swim.
You ready? Can I get a minute? Please.
Pretty soon, they reach the hospital, and Abby tells Lev to hang back while she gets the supplies. She tries to walk right past some WLF soldiers like everything is normal, but they immediately arrest her for desertion on Isaac's orders. What? It's a crime to visit the aquarium now? Abby gets handcuffed to an elevator, but the WLF stupidly leaves her unguarded, so she gets freed by Nora minutes later. Apparently, Isaac has been getting real paranoid and suspects that Abby and her friends are all working against him. So, it'd probably be best for them to all leave Seattle ASAP. Nora then tells Abby she might be able to find some medical supplies in the hospital's infected basement. Abby explores the basement, and at one point, comes across my personal favorite mutation, the Rat King infected. The Rat King is a gargantuan monster consisting of multiple infected that fused together. Abby and the Rat King have a truly epic battle across multiple floors of the hospital. Abby evades the beast until she has finally unloaded enough bullets into this thing to bring it down. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think any amount of Ellie's brain would ever have been able to cure something like that. Abby then finds some medical supplies, meets back up with Lev outside, and the two steal a boat back to the aquarium. Once they get there, Mel uses the supplies to perform an amputation on Yara, who is honestly taking it a lot better than I would in her place. Abby and Owen wonder how these siblings could have so much optimism after everything they've been through. Owen suggests that ever since joining the WLF, they've stopped looking for the light. Yeah, joining a fascist militia will do that to ya. Abby wakes up the next morning, and if you're really missing Ellie and the others, don't worry. Today is the day that they'll have their big confrontation at the theater. Mel is super pissed at Abby, which is fair because she did just sleep with Mel's baby daddy.
I haven't always done the right thing.
You're a piece of Abby.
Owen and Mel invite the siblings to come to Santa Barbara with them, but Lev refuses to leave Seattle without rescuing his mother from the Seraphite Island. Lev steals a boat and runs off on his own, so Yara asks Abby to go after him. Apparently, their mother wasn't very supportive of Lev's decision to identify as a man, especially since he was originally supposed to be a wife for an elder in the cult. Yara says there's no way their mother will ever agree to leave with Lev. Abby and Yara go to some docks to get a boat for themselves, and they run into Abby's friend, Manny. He is prepping for the assault on the Seraphites Island, but has run into trouble from a mysterious sniper. Hey, I know who that is! Abby helps Manny sneak through a parking garage until they think they have the sniper cornered. But unfortunately for them, this is Tommy they're up against, and he's learned from the best there is. Tommy sneaks up behind the pair and kills Manny. Tommy and Abby get into a fight, but right as Tommy is about to push Abby into the ocean, Yara stabs him from behind and he falls in himself.
You alright? Abby? Yeah.
This would be a lot more dramatic if we didn't know for a fact that he survived this. Abby and Yara then get on a boat and reach the island. Coincidentally, at the exact same moment, the WLF is starting their assault. Talk about bad timing! The two fight their way through the island until they get to Yara and Lev's house. Inside, they find Lev huddled on the floor near his mother's dead body. Damn! Apparently, she attacked Lev on sight for being a traitor to the Prophet, and Lev was forced to kill her in self-defense.
Listen, you were defending yourself. You did nothing wrong.
I don't know what's worse. Having a loving parent ripped away from you, or having a parent so horrible that they force you to end them yourself. Yara consoles her brother and convinces him to escape the island with her and Abby. But getting out isn't going to be easy, because there's still a bit of a full-scale invasion going on. Abby and the siblings are caught in the crossfire between the WLF and the Scars. While running through the forest, Yara gets shot in the stomach by a WLF soldier, and the trio are surrounded. That's when Isaac shows up. Oh boy. He steps forward and tells his men to hold their fire. He asks Abby why he's protecting them and gives her one last chance to return to the WLF.
3 seconds to get away from that scar. 1.
You really gonna shoot me?
Abby refuses and stands right between Isaac and Lev. Before he can pull the trigger, Yara saves the day again and shoots Isaac from behind. The soldiers all open fire on this literal child, allowing Abby an opportunity to drag Lev away. And the poor boy is just screaming. The two reach the safety of a building, but Lev is furious at Abby for what the WLF did to his sister. Abby insists that she is done with the WLF for good now, and only cares about getting Lev to safety. They manage to escape the island and leave these two warring factions behind them for good. However, if you'll remember, there is an even nastier surprise waiting for Abby back at the aquarium. They arrive and discover Alice the dog has bled out in the hall. They then find the bodies of Owen and Mel, causing Abby to break down and throw up in grief. Lev finds a map with the theater marked on it, a final message from Owen. The two then decide to go and end this once and for all. And now, we are finally back to the big moment. Abby and Lev enter the theater lobby to find Tommy and force him onto his knees. Ellie and Jesse burst through the door, and Abby shoots Jesse right in the face. Man, this was hard enough to watch the first time around. Ellie begs for Tommy's life, and right as Abby is about to shoot, Tommy lunges for her gun. Tommy gets shot twice for his troubles, but he allows Ellie the chance to retreat into the theater and grab her weapons. Now, we get to experience one of the most unique boss fights in all of gaming. We're fighting as Abby against the very protagonist of these games. I don't want to hurt Ellie, but the game doesn't really give you much of a choice. The two are evenly matched though, and have an intense battle throughout the theater, trading blows and dodging bullets. Ellie uses her bow, mines, and even Molotov cocktails against Abby, but she never stood a chance against the playable character. Abby eventually overpowers Ellie, breaks her arm, and starts beating her to death. Now, it's the sidekick's turn. Dina appears and slashes at Abby with a knife to get her off of Ellie, but then Lev shoots Dina in the shoulder. Abby is about to finish off Dina when Ellie yells out that she is pregnant and asks for mercy. Abby sees this as the perfect opportunity to get revenge for the pregnant Mel, but when she looks at the young, innocent Lev, she changes her mind. Abby spares both Dina and Ellie, warns them to stop coming after her, and leaves the theater with Lev.
Don't ever let me see you again. Come on.
Months later, Ellie and Dina are living together on a farm in Wyoming with Dina's baby, JJ. They have a peaceful life together, but Ellie is still tormented by the deaths of Joel and Jesse. One day, they get a visit from Tommy, who is down one eye but still alive and kicking. Tommy has remained fully consumed by the need for revenge all this time, and has just found out that Abby is in Santa Barbara. He asks Ellie to come with him to track Abby down, but Dina insists that Ellie needs to stay here with her new family.
Talk about it in the morning, okay?
I have to finish it.
Dina tearfully begs Ellie not to go, but Ellie says that she'll never truly be able to live as long as Abby is still out there. Not wanting to put Tommy in any more danger, Ellie heads out to Santa Barbara on her own. Seriously though, this game wouldn't even exist if people just learned how to let go. After that, we get to see a little bit of Abby and Lev looking for the new Fireflies in Santa Barbara. They trade all their weapons for intel and find out where the Fireflies are based. When they reach the house they were looking for, they find a hideout that has just recently been abandoned. Abby uses a radio there to make contact with the Fireflies, and learns the group is now 200 strong and just moved to Catalina Island. Abby and Lev plan to journey there in Owen's boat, but are immediately attacked by a vicious gang of scavengers called the Rattlers. Without their weapons, they don't stand a chance, and are tied up to be used as slaves. 2 months later, Ellie reaches Santa Barbara looking for any trace of Abby. She finds their boat and learns the location of the house where they were abducted. Once she gets there, Ellie doesn't fare much better than Abby and Lev did. She is quickly caught in a trap set by the Rattlers and is stabbed through the side by a tree branch of all things. After a few hours of dangling upside down, Ellie is approached by 2 Rattlers who she mistakes for Abby and Lev. They're about to take Ellie back to their base, but she pushes one of them into an infected who is also caught in a trap and shoots the other in the leg. The Rattler begs for his life and tells Ellie she can find Abby being held at a resort nearby.
Head that way till you hit the railroad track. That'll lead you to a resort. We keep him in the tall, round building.
Ellie executes the man anyway, stitches herself up, and heads to the resort. Ellie soon reaches the area where the Rattlers hold their prisoners. And we get a good look at what is surely the most evil faction in this entire franchise. The Rattlers torture their enslaved captives, even going so far as to infect some of them intentionally, just to make the area more dangerous for outsiders. Looking at how far humanity has sank, it really makes you wonder, would a cure have really even helped things at all that much? Ellie then stealthily takes out a Rattler guard and gives the cell keys to the prisoners. Nothing like a good old prison break to cause a distraction. The prisoners raid a weapons locker and turn on their captors. Ellie asks one of them if they know where Abby is, and they tell her that Abby and Lev were strung up on pillars on the beach as punishment. Because being enslaved isn't punishment enough? Leaving the Rattler base burning down behind her, Ellie goes to the beach and sees countless pillars with corpses tied to them. She searches for Abby until a familiar voice calls out to her, asking for help.
Help me. Please. It's you.
Finally, after such a long, terrible journey, Ellie finds her target completely weak and helpless. Ellie cuts Abby down and allows her to free Lev, who is also on the brink of death. Ellie is also weakened by the wound in her side, and when Abby starts carrying Lev to a nearby boat, Ellie silently follows. Ellie is deeply conflicted after seeing just what these two have been through, but she's come too far to back down now. She tells Abby that she won't let her leave, but Abby is completely worn down and refuses to fight. Ellie throws Abby to the ground and demands she defend herself, but there is no fight left in Abby. In desperation, Ellie threatens to kill the helpless Lev unless Abby fights her, and Abby finally gives in. I think it's safe to say that Ellie has completely lost it. The two exhausted, injured women then have an absolutely brutal duel right there on the beach. This would probably look a lot more exciting if I wasn't so good at the game. Ellie eventually has Abby pinned down and begins drowning her under the water, but Abby straight up bites off 2 of Ellie's fingers. Ellie cries out but refuses to give up, pinning Abby down again. She starts to cry as Abby loses air and suddenly has a vision of Joel playing his guitar on the porch. So Ellie lets Abby go and crawls away sobbing. She tells Abby to take Lev and leave. Confused, Abby sails away with Lev, leaving a broken Ellie completely alone in the water. Sometime later, Ellie returns to the farm where she lived with Dina. She finds it abandoned, and the only trace that anybody was ever living there is a room with Ellie's belongings in it, including Joel's guitar. Ellie sits by the window and tries to play the song Joel taught her, but with her missing fingers, it's impossible. Then, just for good measure, we get one final flashback. This time, to the last night Ellie and Joel had together in Jackson. Joel is playing his guitar on the porch when Ellie stops by. Joel tries to make small talk, expressing his support for Ellie dating Dina, but Ellie cuts him off in anger. She screams at him for taking away her one chance to save humanity, to make her life mean something. Joel just says that if he has the chance to do it all over again, he would make the same choice in a heartbeat.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Ellie then says she isn't sure if she'll ever be able to forgive Joel, but she'd like to try. Back in the present, Ellie sits in the empty farmhouse thinking about Joel. She places his guitar by the window and leaves the house. The music swells, we cut to black, and the credits roll. God damn! And I thought the ending of the first game was brutal. Anyway, feel free to click the link on screen to watch another one of my videos.